Let's take a look at our basic infield positioning. A lot of that will be determined by your personnel. You might have a shortstop that's better going to her left or to her right. If so, you need to shade a little bit one way or the other. You might have a third baseman or a first baseman that's easier to cover the line or easier to cut off the hole. Again, shade one way or the other. The key here is to recognize your strengths and weaknesses on defense and position your team accordingly to get the most out of the ability and the talent of your players. Try to get your infielders as deep as possible and still be able to handle any situation that arises. So your infield really has to be able to read the opposing batters. Is this a batter that's going to be able to drag bunt? What kind of speed do they have? The faster the batter that you're facing, the closer your corners are going to need to play, and the closer your middle infielders are going to need to play to home plate. The slower the runner at the plate, obviously you can take a few steps back and try to cut off as many base hits as possible. The key here is to always be reading that situation. Obviously you run into a two-strike situation, they're probably not going to bunt or be as likely to bunt in that situation. Your corners can take a couple steps back. Middle infielders don't have to worry as much about that ball that they're going to have to beat out. So the key for our basic positioning is always reading the hitter and making adjustments. Play as deep as possible and still be able to get that batter out if they lay down a bunt. Let's take a look at some bunt situations. You have basically two options when you have a runner at first base or second, doesn't really matter where the runners are. One is to bring both your corners, first and third base, in on coverage. We like to do this when we have a situation where we feel the other team is going to sacrifice bunt. We either know the tendencies of the other team or it's a situation that really dictates a sacrifice bunt. Our goal here is to get in and get that lead runner. We always want our corners to set their feet, shoot for that runner at second base or third, wherever the lead runner would be, and try to get that lead runner out. Our pitcher in this situation hangs back and sort of serves as a safety valve. If the batter slaps the ball, push bunt past our corners that are charging in, that type of a situation. Your other option here is to use your pitcher actually to field their bunts. Take the pitcher to one side or the other, again depending on where the runners are. In this situation, it allows you to keep your middle infield at home. Keep the shortstop home, and you don't vacate a big hole where you're susceptible to a hit and run, and you don't create a lot of movement with your defense. We do this in a situation where we don't think that our opponent is as likely to sacrifice bunt. Maybe it's a two-out situation, maybe it's a situation where they don't have a very good bunter, or maybe it's a team that doesn't sacrifice bunt very often. Two-strike situation is another great time to change to this defense. We have pitchers take bunts on one side, only bring one of the corners in. It keeps your shortstop at home and allows you to defend a lot better overall defensively. The other thing that gives you an opportunity is to turn a lot more double plays this way. By having pitchers take bunts to one side, you can move your second baseman closer to the bag, give your shortstop and your third baseman a lot more opportunity to turn double plays. So it's a great defense to use, and it really doesn't put you at much of a disadvantage by having your pitcher take bunts to one side or the other. Now, in looking where you want your pitcher to cover, take a look at where the runners are. If the runner's at first base, your pitcher will have coverage on the first base side. We keep our first baseman back in this situation. We move our second baseman closer to second. We'll actually have her take the throws for a steal in this situation. This keeps our shortstop at home and allows us to turn a lot more double plays. If the runner is at second base, we want our pitcher now to take bunts down the third base line. We'll use our third baseman to cover the steal at third, again keeping our shortstop at home and not vacating that hole, having to cover a stealing runner. This gives us a chance to cut down a lot more balls that are hit through the infield in this situation. Again, it gives your pitcher an opportunity to cover bunts on that third base line, leaving the third baseman back to cover for the steal. Our first play in a bunt defense situation for the third baseman is a play at second. What we're looking for here, we have a runner at first base, and our goal is to get that lead runner. The key here is to set your feet to make that throw to second prior to receiving the ball and come up and throw all in one motion. Shortstop calls for the ball at 2, third baseman comes up throwing, doesn't even look to see where the runner is. Here we go. Our next bunt situation is a little bit softer bunt where we don't have a play at second. We're going to make the adjustment and get the out at first. Again, here we want our third baseman to set their feet as if they're going to go to 2. You can always adjust and get the out at 1. You can't adjust the other way. So the key here is set your feet to get the out for the lead runner, and then make your adjustment and get the out at 1. Let's see what this looks like. Here we go. The next situation we'd like to cover on bunts is a situation where the third baseman gets caught back a little bit, a drag bunt maybe, or a surprise bunt, where they're going to come in, ball close to the line, backhand rake, and make the throw to first. This is what it looks like. All right, here we go. Our last situation with our third baseman is a do or die bare hand play. Again, a situation where you get caught back on a surprise bunt, drag bunt. They're going to field the ball bare hand and make the throw on the run. The key here to look for is a field the ball off your glove side foot, step and throw all in one motion. This is what it looks like. That's it.